Good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to take a topic on PhD students and health challenges. So in this topic, we have referred some good reviews published in Nature and Science, and most of the information is collected from peer-reviewed journals. So let's start with the talk. So first of all, I start with what PhD is actually. So we all know PhD is Doctor of Philosophy, and in Latin it is to teach, and in Greek it is a love of wisdom. So as it sounds from the meaning, it is a great thing to do a PhD. So something to teach, something to learn, and then to have a intellect or a wisdom. So coming to the whole perspective of PhD, if we see in this, we have a science, intellect, knowledge, motivation, success, dream jobs, academics positions, discoveries. So this all sounds very nice, and this all sounds very interesting for pursuing a career as a PhD or a researcher scholar. So but in mid of this, there are a lot of clouds, which we have presented in this slide. So we see late night in labs and missed deadlines, experiment failures, negative results, rejection of proposals, delayed fellowships, publish or perish phenomenon, then growth assessment by publication in high impact journals, and ultimately some can go into wrong hypothesis by the end of the PhD. So it can become a nightmare for some of them. Nowadays, a lot of being studied is with regard to PhD, like what is happening with the PhD student in terms of their mental and physical health. So these clouds actually eventually lead to a lot of effect on the health of PhD student, and ultimately they are drowned into the depressions and anxieties. So first of the thing, what we can do as a research scholar, as a people who are doing a research, first of all, it's very important to have a awareness. So a lot of studies were carried out throughout the world in order to make people aware about the concept of mental illness with respect to PhD students. So coming to the uh, report published in Nature. So first of all, they have done a lot of surveys. So I have pointed few of the questions which they have published in Nature. So it was asked, the survey was made from around 6,500 students, young researchers. So it was asked regarding the sustained satisfaction. So the question was, how satisfied are you with your decision to pursue a PhD? So almost 38% were saying very satisfied, then somewhat saying less satisfied, and some were neutral. Around 10% was dissatisfied, and around 6% were very dissatisfied, like they are hopeless. Then another question was asked, since the start of your graduation school experience, has your level of satisfaction increased? Like you have done a master's, a bachelor's, then master's, and then you're entering into the higher education, the utmost point where the PhD is actually a highly educated educational degree. So is it like your state of satisfaction is worsened or remain the same? So the answer was like that, कि 45% said it's worsened, and 13% were neutral, and 42% said increased. So there was a mixed reaction, but we cannot disagree, and we cannot overlook those 38% unsatisfied or 45% worsened, which has a worsened satisfaction people in this regard. So coming to the next question, which was asked, overall, what do you enjoy most about as a life, your life as a PhD student? So different domains were given, like intellectual challenges, working with interesting and bright people. So highest was like intellectual challenge, like people enjoyed this thing. Apart from that, it was as obvious, social life was almost 1%. So, and then about the jobs, non-research job or science job. So nobody is enjoying the PhD as getting a jobs. So everybody is so aware about the consequences, that how many people are going to get absorbed in the academic and the non-academic research positions. and 11% were enjoying as a creativity, 13% were saying as a university and academic environment is so good, so they're enjoying the PhD. Likewise, the highest percentage was in the thing like they are having an intellectual challenge. Like it shows that increase in the intellect, people are enjoying this thing. And the lowest of this is social life, like they are distracted, like they are just withdrawn totally from the social interactions. So coming to the next question which was seen, like it was about the overextended and stressed hours, long hours of working in the laboratory. So on an average, how many hours a week do you typically spend on your PhD program? So almost 76% of the respondents are working 41 plus hours per week, and it's almost a long hour. And many are working like 51 to 60 and 61 to 70 also. And very few are working in like more than 80 hours, and that's very extended. So long hours in laboratory and other demands have taken a toll on PhD students' well-being and mental health. And these are the very serious concerns and the causes because of which the mental health that like PhD students are suffered by a mental illness. So coming to the next survey about the bad behavior. So it was regarding how like have you experienced discrimination or harassment in your PhD program? So almost 76% said no, and 21% said yes. And and similarly, the question was asked like which kind of harassment or which kind of discrimination did you saw? So like 39% were saying that it was a gender-based discrimination. So what these actually showing, these data which is actually showing is that enhancement of harassment and gender or racial discrimination remains distressingly common on the commonplace. And the most frequently reported perpetrators are supervisor. Coming to the next thing is academic dreams. Like people, almost everybody, whoever are pursuing the career as a PhD students, they are actually having a dreams of a good academic position or a job. So most of the students are actually dreaming for a higher academic positions. So it was a survey was made whether they are trying to get absorbed in academic industry or medical, government or non-profit. So it was almost the preference was the academic position, in spite of the fact that there is a lot of global crunch in this academic industry. So all these put together put a lot of pressure on the mind of a PhD student to carry on their research and to successfully publish and to successfully carry out the degree with flying colors and with get absorbed in high and good positions. So we have some of the reports here, like a Nature report survey was done on 6,300 earlier career researchers. 36% have sought help for anxiety or depressions. Then survey was made for 50,000 graduate students in UK that reported 86% reported a market level of anxiety, and that is very high percentage, like almost maximum majority was facing a anxiety. Then the report released by the University of California, Berkeley, they said almost 50% of the doctoral students met the clinical criteria for the depression. The study published in the academic journal Research Policy about the PhD student in Belgium, they showed that 50% experience psychological distress and even 33% are at the risk of common psychiatric disorder. So this cannot be ignored, and it is very nice thing that our scientific community has actually uh, gone into these problems. They surveyed and they studied and they try to know what is actually the reason behind, and they try to develop and implement a lot of rules and lot of remedies. They are providing a solution, so it can be worked out with the PhD student to improve their mental and physical health. So coming to the outcome and the conclusion, what actually we are getting out of it is like the report published in Science, PhD student faces significant mental health challenges. So there are two broad conclusions which I found overall. Approximately one third of the PhD students are at the risk of having or developing a common psychiatric disorder like depression. Then the prevalence of the mental health problem is higher in PhD students than in the highly educated general population or highly educated employees. And that's too scary. Now coming to, it's all about the problem. Like almost 10 minutes I spoke about the problem. Now coming how to fix the problem. So if we wanted to fix a problem, we first need to acknowledge it. We should know it is a problem, because actually people are not acknowledging that this is a problem happening with them, and the people surrounding them, they are also not understanding that this is actually a problem about the mental illness. So first and foremost is to know the symptoms. So first the PhD student himself try to acknowledge, try to know what kind of symptom he is suffering. Is it like a first stage of depression? Is it like a last stage of depression where I am standing? So to know the symptoms, I'll start with first the constant feeling of feeling sad, anxious, or empathy. So it is like the person will, the PhD student or the researcher will feel anxious about everything, even the simplest task like getting out of the bed. So it was published in a reputed journal. They were telling even a person cannot move, and they are feeling anxiety and high level of anxiety. So those actually led to the feeling of hopelessness, guilty, and worthless, like feeling like nothing can be done, everything what I am doing is wrong, and feeling of hopeless and piles of negative thoughts. Then ultimately what it led to, it led to loss of interest or pleasure in the hobbies and activities. So at third stage, they try to withdraw themselves. Like for example, somebody have a hobby of the playing badminton, drawing, or listening music, or reading books, or doing other things. Now they are lying on the bed for a whole day, or they are sitting just like crying and crying and crying. So all these are the symptoms for the mental illness. Then issues with sleep. Now the manifestation is getting into the physical body aspect. So the sleep problem is there, irritability is there, memory loss is there, like nothing is like people tends to forget whatever they are trying to do. They don't know what is happening. Then changes in the appetite and weight. Like for example, since there is lots of unconsciousness, people don't know what they are eating, people don't know where they are sitting, people don't know what they are doing. Then ultimately what they try to do, they don't interact, they just try to self medicate with them. So another, the very scary step is self medicating with drugs. So they started doing eating some pills like sleeping pills or something, which is very harmful for their health. And the ultimate and the last, which is actually where the help needs to sort, even the help is needed by a PhD student. The first step, when the first step is crossed, when the person is feeling anxiety itself, is the first step where the person need a help. But seventh is the last and the last step and the scary step, where the person gets started to get a suicidal thoughts or attempts. So these are the symptoms. If we try to know, okay, where we are actually standing, we are at the first level or second level, then we try to cope up with the problem. So how to cope up with the problem which we are facing as a PhD student in our career or during our research. And I'm going to talk about the remedies or the solution which the researchers people have told nature in science communications. So first of all, start with the first at the foremost time when you just started to realize that it's about the anxiety, feeling anxiety or withdrawn from your basic activities which you were liking earlier. Then first and foremost thing is to build me time in your daily schedule. Like we all have a schedule where we work from a long hours. So people might be working whole night, or people might be working whole day, or maybe some part of the day and then the night. So it's almost a long hour for everybody, and they don't take time for themselves to realize what they are, what they like, and what they do. So regardless of how much work there may be on your plate, make time to remove yourself from your research and then recharge and then do the research. So it's like RRR: research, recharge, and then research. So for this, what can be done? It can be a hobby. It can be developing a good hobbies like playing badminton or playing cricket for boys and girls, and playing volleyball, playing if you have a courts and availability, do all these activity. Or if you like to read book, then you're reading books. If you like to listen music or walk, or just a walking can also be a therapy. Exercising is the foremost thing, that and then engaging with friends and engaging on all those activities which give you a pleasure, which give you a make you feel better. So coming to the next thing is practice mindfulness. So as we discussed about the symptom of this one uh, the symptom of depression, how it feels. So first of the problem which they feel is like the anxiety, and they don't know what they are doing, and they are forgetting things. They are actually, the main problem is the unconsciousness state. They don't know when they started fall off, and they realize when they totally drowned or they are fall off. So mindfulness is actually about staying focused on what's happening in the present moment. So it was published in Science, so where they have given a full article about how to practice the mindfulness, how to be present in the present moment, like to be present in the present moment. So we should realize when was the last time when we paused and we thought about how we feel. So it is about journaling, it is about meditation, it is about guided breathing exercises. These are few tasks that we can do, that can make us feel better, that can make a health of the PhD student feel better. And then what it will ultimately fetch, it will also allow the person to view the reality of the situation, where I am standing, with respect to my research, where I am standing, how many years I have spent, how many years I have been left out, how much work is done, what can be better done with the work which is left out, and what are the best resources which are available with me that can be done. So staying focused in the present moment is the best remedy to to combat this depression or anxiety, and to know whatever is available in the today's movement, that is the best, and that we can fetch, and that we can utilize for our for making a research work. Now the next is eating well and sleeping well. So this is all about how we tame our, we spoke about how we tame our mind, like we were taming our mind. But we cannot ignore what about our physical health, like what we are eating, how much rest we are giving to the body. So eating well and sleeping well is the most important thing. So making times for meal, like meal skipping should not be there, and proper meals should be taken, proper hydration should be there, proper nutrition should be there. What we are eating actually, that should be counted, and that can only be counted if we follow the previous step of mindfulness. Then eating well is an important to keep your energy level stable. And then also focus on drinks, like what I'm drinking water more or coffee more. Like it's, is it like a coffee break whether I had a water or not. So we should fix up a diet where we know, like we have to take 10 to 12 glasses of water, or what we need to eat, how, which fruit we have taken, which fruit we have to take. This all should be known, and this can only be achieved when we are having a state of mindfulness. Now coming to next topic, and that is a very important topic for a PhD student. Since the PhD student is actually involved, fully immersed into this research, he is actually occupied with his research topic, research questions, experiments, and all those things, generating resources, discussions, meeting deadlines, writing proposals, and writing reports for the research committee. All these things are getting back to back, back to back. So there is one thing like a family and a friend touch. So this is a very important thing, and personal support networks are very essential for our health and happiness. So if we are making a time to talk our loved ones, that it is a remedy, best remedy for a PhD student. Because what happened, that these family and these friends may offer an outside perspective. Since we are involved in our day-to-day activities, actually a researcher is spending a lot of time, lot of and it is demanding also, because this is a very challenging job, so we have to give a time. So in that we are immersed in learning new skills, and we are developing those experiments, and we are doing experiments. Experiments are getting failed, we are getting upset, lot of things are happening, lot of challenges are there. So if there's something like outside, some people who are sitting outside of your scientific world, they can help a lot, because they have a different topic to talk with, they have a different things, they have a different perspective, they have a different scenario for the world, what's going around. And when we look out those perspective, then we will feel better. So we have to avoid self isolation. The most terrible thing which happened with the PhD student is the self isolation. Since PhD is almost, it's already, people is a person is occupied with his own work, and at the top of that the person has self isolated, so it's got totally disconnected from this social interaction. So coming to my second next thing, being social and connected with nature. This is somewhat similar to being in touch with family and friend, but with a little different version, where actually is like being social is like it's not just your family and friends who can provide you a perspective. If you have a social interactions with your other for example, you're walking, you're traveling, you met some person, some unknown persons, and you talk, you see how they live, how the culture is there. When you get a time to visit a market, you visualize what is happening around the world. When you see the nature, when you see how the plants are there, how the flowers are there, how the sky is looking, how the birds are there, bird watching, each all these activities can rush a lot of adrenaline through, and we can be a very energetic if we get time for these activities. So being social and being connected with nature, to know what is happening around, it will also change our perspective. And at the same time, we should be very connected with our research also. So that should be a flip. Like we should be we should be dedicating a good part to our research, and then getting recharged from outside world, and then getting into our own research world. Now, next, coming to the seeking help when you need. So when you are social, when you are interacting, whether it's a PhD group or your scientific community or outside the community, seeking help is actually a good thing. It's a myth that people say that asking for a help is seen as a sign of a weakness. And no one can do everything alone. And it's a truth. And nor should they do. So it is like nobody can take a whole burden on that. So proper connectivity, networking, everybody knows that in scientific community, networking is a very good thing. We should work in collaboration brings lots of good and high impact publication, very good researches. We know the impact in our scientific community. So it is very important to be connected, and we can only be connected when we try to remain social. When we are trying to be socializing with others, or we are avoiding the self isolation. And then at the time when we are seeking help from others, so the people who are around, since this I started my talk by about the awareness, like we all should be aware about that this problem exists. And if we find some person like which is having this problem, then we should try to help them a lot. And for a person who is seeking help, they should also make this point in their mind that they should not take no personally. A lot of time everybody is busy with their work. Lots of people are almost sailing in the same boat, and they are also running and rushing through to meet the deadlines. So it is possible that people may say no because of the tight schedule or because of some other reasons. So it should not be that the person should take no as a personal thing. So if it is not taken personally, if the person take it's okay, it's a casual thing, then it will not pile up. And that can only come when we have a positive attitude toward ourselves and towards others. Now, coming to other things is after this, being focused on your overall growth with ethics and be persistent with full energy. So there are two words, being focused. Second is being persistent. First, we should be focused on where we are standing in our research. We should be focused what question we are addressing, what scientific problems we are addressing, how best I can address, how much time I have, how in that time, how best possible ways, what best possible ways I can do, or best possible resources I can manage. With those resources, I can do the full-fledged research which I wanted to carry out. So in that, being focused on your own overall growth is very important, and to avoid being focused on the growth of others. It's good to have a good and healthy competition, but it's not good to to lose focus on ourselves and to focus on others, like what others are fetching out of their research, because everybody has a different journey and everybody have a different PhD. So all PhDs are not same, all PhD students are not same. Even we know that our topics are even different. And then another point is that even there are hard and soft things are there. There are fall also, there are rise also. We should be persistent. We should be persistent with our full energy. And this can only be achieved when we follow other points which I have discussed previously. By keeping ourselves mindful, by developing good hobbies, by keeping ourselves healthy, staying fit, and by having a good social interaction. And all these things fetch up a lot of positive energy in us, and then only we can be persistent in doing things. Even if we are failing, we will try to do a thing little bit and a little bit and little bit. So the next thing is reward yourself. So mistakes are normal. mistakes are there, and lots of research which are being done are actually a mistakes, like people have done mistake. So no one is perfect, and a research field in particular is filled with endless dead ends and experiments that yield negative results. For example, somebody has done a lot of research, and they have pulled up, I think, lot of datas in, for example, 1 year or 2 year, and at the end of 2 year they got to know, okay, it's all vain, it's all rubbish, and I have to send in the trash. So there should not be a hopelessness. There is always, we should actually accept it, we should actually know and acknowledge it, that this will happen, and this will happen with one and the other with different frequency, that there will be endless dead ends. But then we have to reward ourselves, we have to see how tiny progress which we are making. So we should focus on tiny progress, since there is a lot of pressure from the committees, there is a lot of pressure from the PIs, there is a lot of pressure from the institution, there is a lot of pressure from the scientific community. They want something good, and that's actually uh, that that's actually right, and that's actually demanding, because we have to progress. But in that we cannot lose ourselves, and we cannot lose our mental health. So in that thing we can reward ourselves by our tiny progress, like what small we are doing on a daily basis, what experiment I have planned, and what experiment I have successfully done, what point I have added to my manuscript, what figure I have added to my manuscript, whether it's a or B or C. Somebody will consider figure 1 as a full-fledged figure. Okay, this is a reward. No, you should consider part A, okay, done. Part B, okay, done. Part C, okay, done. Likewise, if you reward yourself by doing a little and little bit, and then those tiny progress means a lot in a long span of PhD. And then rewarding yourself, you have a lot of other options. You can meet friends when you achieve something, okay, your results are good, so you go, you can reward yourself by planning some vacations, for short vacations. You can plan some time with your friends, you can plan for some time for eating some good thing or sitting some favorite places. So likewise, you can reward yourself whenever you achieve something, you rewards yourself, because the journey in the PhD which we have is actually fetch up a result in the form of a degree or a publication by the end of the 6th or the 7th year. Like for example, it's 5 year, but it goes around to 6th or 7th year. So from starting to 1 to 7 year, if you wanted to see what is the real outcome will come after 5-7 years, and by the time the PhD student will be trained. And so only thing which can make us, which can make our momentum, and which can make make ourselves focused and persistent, is by rewarding ourselves. So every tiny progress means a lot in a span of PhD. Last but not the least, no PhD program lasts forever. And this is about the person who is actually the people act like, if there is a state of a people, different PhD students experience a different level of mental health issues. Like some are milder, some are severe. But for all of them, it's like no PhD program lasts forever. It's like no, nor it is supposed to be sustainable. Reminding yourself that what you're enduring is temporary by nature and can help you maintain a healthy perspective. That one at last time, you will achieve your PhD degree, and you will come out like a flying colors, and your PhD degree will be in your hand. Now, there is one point I wanted to highlight regarding, there is a study in science, and this is all about what we can, as a researcher, can do. Then there is a role for a PI and the institution. So it has been published in Science. So it has been shown that a message is given to PI and the institution, that they should take a issue as a serious issue, and they should spot a sign, like who are actually facing this problem. And it is not confined to PI. Even it is also about the people who are surrounded, like people who are surrounding that person. They should also acknowledge and see what signs are there. People are is whether there is somebody who are suffering like that, and somebody who is seem to be anxious, who isolate themselves. So PI should look for those students who are not meeting their deadlines, and then a healthy conversation can bring a lot of good things out of that. And another thing which has been given is like the scientific communities are suggesting that there should be a compulsory training to identify and assist and understand the researchers facing mental health problems, and the universities to make sure that the mental health services they admirably make available to undergraduates also reach graduate student and postdoc. Like there should be a common some mental health services, like visiting of psychologists, as in our NIPGR. We are so grateful that we have these facilities. We have a visiting visiting psychologist, and NIPJ is taking a great care of this aspect. Now, ultimately coming to this point, and this is the last slide of my talk, this is how it looks like. This is your PhD. Actually start from a seed and it start germinating and then goes like that, like that, like that, and ultimately fruit. If you miss between part, if you just see a seed and you see a fruit, then it's a very different thing. Like in order to get a fruit, there is a long journey ahead. And in order to keep us persistent in that journey, we should be having a positive outlook and we should be having a positive perspective and the mindfulness. And I think these points can help us a lot, and can help the audience to view that that this mental illness is actually a problem, and also provide a solution and the remedies for the PhD students to cope up with the stress and to carry out healthy research. Thank you very much.